across Texas. The issue is.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas. The issue is.
Condemnation of conduct. Those were the words from the House GOP caucus when it censured 4 members. The reason for campaigning against sitting incumbents. I talked to North Texas State Representative Brian Harrison about being censured. In the fallout from the runoff election where House Speaker Dade Phelan held on to his seat, the House GOP caucus censured 4 of Phelan's biggest critics.
Too much is at stake, quite frankly, for me to care what some social club caucus organization in Austin thinks about what I'm trying to do, given how much is on the line.
Waxahachie Representative Brian Harrison, Fort Worth Representative Nate Schatzline, Arlington Representative Tony Tinderholt, and Spring Representative Steve Toth were condemned by the caucus for supporting the campaign of challengers who ran against incumbents. I spoke to Harrison about the censure.
I am unapologetic that I spent this primary season traveling around the state with Governor Greg Abbott, Senator Ted Cruz, Attorney General Ken Paxton, Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, to campaign for real conservatives against fake Republicans who have betrayed their voters.
Do you think the term fake Republican is a bit of a stretch? I mean, some of these people joined you in spending a ton of money at the border, passing the heartbeat bill, one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. You think these people are fake Republicans?
I think many of them absolutely are. And I've never said that no conservative bill has ever passed the Texas House. That's what that question would be refuting. That would be an absurd allegation. Of course, some conservative bills have passed the Texas House, but in almost every instance, including the ones you just mentioned, those were done over the objection of these fake Republicans who, quite frankly, would have rather not done those things, or that slow-walked it for years and years and years. No, there are so many. Look, there were only 8 legislative priorities the Republican Party of Texas asked the Texas House to do last session. The Republican leadership, so-called Republican of the Texas House, said, no, we are not going to do those 8 priorities. But what did they do instead? They prioritized over 500 Democrat bills. Our so-called Republican speaker, absolutely a fake Republican.
So should there be no bipartisanship in Texas? I would rebut with that.
I get it. I just have to laugh. Just because you can support bipartisanship, which I do, I have joint authored bills with some of the most liberal members of the Texas House of Representatives when I saw an opportunity to collaborate to protect liberty. But being bipartisan doesn't mean you put the other team in charge, because if that were the case, why would anybody vote for Republicans if they're just going to put Democrats in charge after they get elected? It makes no sense.
If there's a divide in the House GOP caucus, how are you guys going to elect a speaker? I mean, how many days are we going to be in Austin when you guys start next year? If there's already there's factions now.
Quite frankly, he should be embarrassed and humiliated with what he had to do to get reelected. But here's the question people should be asking. Why are Democrats saving Dade Phelan and sending him back to the Texas House? Well, I think the answer is obvious. Democrats reelected Dade Phelan because he empowers them in Austin and he advances their liberal big government priorities in the Texas House. So what I'm more focused on than the speaker race right now is reforming the Texas House from what it has become under liberal fake Republicans like Dade Phelan and liberal Republicans before him, a corrupt den of liberal dysfunction.
I hear what you're saying, but what Democrat priority has passed? Now, I understand you retorting with school vouchers were blocked. Totally get that. And some Republicans joined. I get that. What Democrat priorities have passed in the House?
That would take me until tomorrow to get done with that list. And let me give you 2 statistics. There were only 8 legislative priorities that the Republican Party of Texas asked for us to do. Those failed. However, Dade Phelan and his Liberal Calendars Committee prioritized over 500. I had my staff look into this very question just the other day. Over 500 liberal priorities were put on the floor of the Texas House.
Rudy Koski, what's your one word to describe that interview?
Wow, there's certainly a lot there. You know, originally I was thinking rhino, but I'm just going to have to go with clubbing.
All right, Greg Grugan, what about you?
Stephen, I'm going to go with radical.
It was a heated conversation. We'll have a lot more to discuss after this short break.